Alright, we're going to see how well this works. If you're tuning in, that's because you are either signed up for my Patreon and getting this video early, or you're on YouTube in the month of June, finally getting a look at my sketchbook from April. This is where we ended in March, and going forward, I left the big pen behind and went back to just pencil. A rough sketch with colored pencil. Typically red. I don't think I did any blue this month, but I guess we'll find out. This is just in the desert sun. Did a little bit of the background stuff, but mainly was just working with the proportions of the Superbird and Daytona, trying to get them to look right. This one in the background still looks a little cartoony, but I think I nailed that front one. Going on to the second page. And we got this blown apart engine. This is sitting in the back of a van. It's just getting put in. Like everything's pretty much bare metal, but they have this blown engine. And for the longest time I was thinking about doing this for the comic, but doesn't seem to work with what I want to do it, so you'll be seeing that in issue 8, so fret not. The third brought this Daytona picture, the Charger, sorry, but it just too cartoony. I'm still working with getting proportions right. You can see the notes down at the bottom that I need to scrunch it in just a little bit on both sections, just to get them looking good. So then found this sweet Wolverine Samurai picture. I like it for the most part. A lot of the cross hatching looks good. I love his chops, but his actual proportions of his body, he could be a little bulkier. You could see his head should be angled just a little bit more. Couple more notes just around the thing. I think I spent pretty much half hour on each one of these, if not 20 to half hour minutes. Then you have this promo that was from the Fate of the Furious Fast 8, turned into this Charger from a comic that's coming out in May called The Freeway Fighters. I'm super looking forward to it. Haven't talked to the writer of it, and he just seems like he's super awesome. He might even be putting my van in his comic, so I'm looking forward to that if he did. You have this pinup I found a while ago. I like it because there's art stuff involved in the background, but obviously it's a gorgeous lady. This is where I really started trying to nail proportions. You'll see that I took a lot more care going forward. I think for the most part I got proportions right. Her hand looks a little wonky, but you know, hands are awful to try and get. This is Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. For the most part, her body looks pretty alright. I didn't like how the legs were looking. They kind of just got messed up. Kind of did that much with it and just gave up on it. Was going to call it a day, but then I went back and redid her head next to it. Sorted it out a lot better. I like that second head design. You can actually tell the details and see who it is a little bit more. Then going into this one, you have, I started working with the figure line. So I did the lines of the body, drew it a little bit more, and then kind of did the full size one. You'll see this quite often now, just because it was a good practice and way to get everything pretty much looking how I want to. A couple notes around the page. This one, I got this design down correctly. Like, her figure lines are right. Moving to the actual picture, the face is so mangled that I couldn't get it for some reason, and it just needs to be proportioned out. It's just weird angles, and they don't make sense when you're putting them down on paper, but for some reason they work up here. So I don't know, might give it another go, but that neck and her face, I mean, just, it's too hard to draw. I was having an off day that day. This day, that face just looks wonky to me. Figured I could go back and try and work on it a little bit more. After putting 20 minutes in, I was just done with the day, so called it. Not super proud of it, but, you know, we all gotta have our off days. Moving on, I had this one of Emily Blunt from Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, whatever you want to call it. It's where she's coming out of that pose when she's training. Got the figure down. Figured I'd spend a little extra time on her face. Got it looking pretty decent, I think. Was pleased with it, how it turned out anyway. This is my friend Angel. Even did the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas poster behind her. I really like how it turned out. I should have outlined her hair a little bit more, but she had pink hair, so just kind of left it. I dig the way it turned out. I showed her. She thought it was pretty funny. She forgot taking the picture on my phone, which she does occasionally, but it's whatever. Then you have the second picture of Emily Blunt. She's looking Victorian. I think this was for a photo shoot or whatever, but I just love the whole composition of it. You have her reading the book. There's the chairs in the background. So I kind of did a quick shot, did a little zoomed in shot, and then really focused on the hand, trying to get the proportions of it right. Was going to redraw it again, but I was satisfied with those 3 different sections, so just left it as is, so I can look back at it for reference. For this, nailed this little portrait study to figure out the proportions, whatever. Really liked it. Moved on to showing the hand with holding the guitar. Moved on to doing the guitar body a little bit more. And then when I came back down to do her body proportions, like, things just started getting out of whack, and I just couldn't recover it, so I just put it down and said, to hell with it, that was what you're getting. So started off doing this, was just going to do a quick little figure out, shading and whatnot. Got it done with, realized it needed to be scrunched a little bit, and widened it a little bit. Went ahead and did the eye, and at that point I figured, you know what, I might as well try one more time. So I did. I like that one on the bottom a lot better. Spent about a half hour, so it turned out reasonably well. Then you have this knight holding his sword. Did a quick sketch. Kind of got the gauntlet how I wanted it to look. Came down here to do the real thing. Got the cross hatching and whatnot. Just didn't like the way it was sitting with me. So then when I came back with pencils, I worked on this one a little bit more. Got that one looking just how I wanted it to. You can see the angle of the sword's just off a little bit, but for the most part, I dig it. It was a nice study of armor and seeing where like rivets and stuff would be. You have this shot of Keanu Reeves from John Wick. He's in a suit. Started off this one, just kind of did a little different gesture design. Then when I came out here, I really wanted to focus on his hands, so that's where I spent a lot of my time working on it. And then after that, just kind of cleaned up his suit and whatnot. Made it really look like him. I think I did a pretty good job on that. So, was planning on doing the same with this. This is the Numi from the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie. I really love this shot. I've tried it before. Really hasn't worked out. I think I really nailed her portrait for that. Was going to do a bigger version down here. realized I really liked the way that little one came out. Wasn't pleased with how the hand works, so I just reworked the hand. And I think that really came out stellar. I've even looked back on it to get some other sketches of hands done reasonably well. Moving along, we have this shot from Whiplash. I mildly enjoy it. A lot of it's still wonky and messed up, but for the most part, nailed it a lot more than I did with my Copic sketch that I did a long time ago. I think the thing that makes me not... like, his proportions are so weird, considering he has such a big forehead and such a big ear on that one side that it's hard to gauge just how his proportions go. He's a very noticeable human being. Then did the sketch of Iron Man flying through the air. Did this little line figure study showing how he looks while he's flying, so kind of made sense of everything. Started sketching a little bit bigger. Realized you really wouldn't see much, so just kind of focused my attention on his hand while he's flying through the air. Still not super impressed with how it turned out, but it is a start of something. So then you have this, one of my old friends, just a picture of her in a lovely dress. Kind of wonkiness all over the place, but there's still some good things. I really think I got her profile correct, her holding her phone, and then this little figure study. Also her foot down here, kind of reworked that to make it look a lot better. And I really like how that turned out, even though I'm still not in love with the sketch itself. Moving on, Charger, one of my favorite cards. Did this one up top, filled in the background. It just looked too cartoony, so tried it again. Realized it's still too tall. If it was scrunched down, I could probably make it look a lot better, but I couldn't really clean it up, so gave it a shadow. Probably good. You'll notice this from previous month. It's just a little bit different angle of that front end that I want to use for Lucifer in the comic. Figure I should draw it a few times. I really like how I did this one with the cross hatching and made it look pretty spot on. I'm really glad how this turned out. I'll probably definitely be using that for reference for my comic. Moving forward, you have this pinup design. I love how this top one of the figure study kind of turned out. Her shoe, the angles of that just worked out so well. This is the last thing I did. I went from this to this. I really love the way her face profile turned out. Her shirt looks great. I think all those lines just work well. For some reason, my hand just really worked amazing that day. This is what I started seeing that I was like, oh man, I'm actually improving quite a bit, and I'm really enjoying the improvement that I'm seeing now that I'm documenting these each month. But was just really super impressed with that one for sure. Moving on, if you haven't checked it out, I've been writing this retcon for Bucky and Hydra Cap from Marvel. If you're not aware, Captain America has gone to a Hydra agent. A lot of people are upset about that. He is also the star of the Secret Empire event, where Hydra's a lot affected. I figured I could write a story for my friends, so I'm putting that on Patreon. I'll include some links down below if you haven't checked that out. But I wanted to do this design for Bucky's arm to show the light emanating between the different little pieces that make up his arm. You can see this little fade. It should be reversed. It should be much lighter in the middle and the darker as it gets to the sides of the sections of the plates. for what it's worth, I really like how it turned out. So going forward, has a little econovan design. Gave it a little shot, kind of quick lines to see where everything was portioned out. I really like how that saw came together up top. Wasn't too impressed with the lines for the econo line. Cleaned up a lot of the lines down here, but then went ahead and went up here and refined the edges on that saw. Then you have this cutaway design for the engine in that van. Wasn't too terribly hard to do, but just another blown engine, so I have reference shots to look back at and see for blown engines and whatnot. I also like this cutaway design showing off the engine. I'm not sure if I'll be using that in the comics, but there's a strong possibility of it. The sled. Facebook had shown me that I saw this 2 years ago, I believe. Started off on this sketch up top. Realized I needed to stretch it or at least scrunch it. Just wasn't having any of it, so I drew the front end picture of it. And then, you know what, I said to hell with it. Came back, drew the bottom. Really like how it turned out. I think it's pretty close to what I wanted it, so satisfied. This you have my friend Ginkgo. If you're not checking out her artwork, she does amazing stuff. One of my favorite artists right now. She does really deep pieces that look very simple, but the meaning behind them is so incredible. Started off with this little figure study, kind of did a little bit of her profile, and then came back. I wanted to do that filigree she had done on her arm, and then started doing it and realized my arm was wonky and off, and there was no correcting it, so I gave up on it. It came back, worked on her face, and I think I really nailed it. So, really enjoy how that turned out. Let's see. Next, and the final one for the month. You have this angel on the gravestone. Tried working with the wings. Tried doing the robe she's wearing. Just really wasn't working. Kind of tried to make sure I had a good hand reference at least. You can see her arm and her head. It's just kind of mangled and kind of not saving it. So that's what I got for April. And like I said, I'm really enjoying my progress. You'll see. I don't have one started for May just yet. This book is now getting very full, and now I've got to wait for a few new ones. So waiting on those, and then continuing this little journey. I think I've got maybe 10 pages in the back of this one, so you'll probably see me change sketchbooks. You'll probably see me change sketchbooks for the next video, but for the most part, really like how this is turning out as practice for the year. So thanks for checking this out, and I'll catch you in the next video.